Hi, and welcome back. I'm Mike Quincy.
I'm Ryan Pizlakowski.
And I'm Alex Nizick.
So I don't want to necessarily speak for Ryan or Alex, but I imagine that if we're not answering questions about how to get really good fuel economy in these days of rising gas prices, we're asked, how the heck do I buy a car these days? Quite simply, availability is tight. Prices are higher than usual. I got to tell you, I've been buying cars for the Consumer Reports test program for over 20 years. I've never seen anything like this. So we thought we'd share some of our experiences as well as give you lots of tips to help you manage such a crazy buying landscape. And Alex, you have the floor.
Sure. So since I joined Consumer Reports about 2 years ago, started buying cars, like we all do, we share the process, right? It's been pretty smooth sailing. So the cars have been available. The prices are what the prices are. And, it seemed pretty easy. But then stuff started to get a little crazy. And the first one that I ran into trouble with was the 2022 Toyota Tundra that just came out. The most troubling part about it was, a lot of people are talking about markups and things selling over MSRP, which is totally true. But the markup on this truck, which at first was $5,000, was not even mentioned to me until I had already put down a deposit. Basically, they sent over the purchase order, and that was the first time that I saw that they were going to try to charge us $5,000 more than the purchase price.
So it was almost like the dealer kind of thought, well, of course you're expecting this, right?
Yeah, they felt no need to inform me about that. And I was like, I look over the PO and I was like, hey, what is this? These numbers aren't quite adding up. And they're like, oh, yeah, $5,000 extra.
Big deal.
No big deal.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty unbelievable. The other one that I'll share quickly is Audi Q4 e-tron. So this electric Audi that's coming out. It was supposed to go on sale last fall, but now it's kind of just TBD because of chip shortages, supply chain issues, plus also the demand. So luckily they let me know that there's a markup on this car ahead of time. But so I had to basically put down a deposit on a car that nobody has seen yet and isn't even available, but just to get myself, in line or basically purchase the right to buy one of these cars. So we'll see. Hopefully it's on sale soon. But as of now, I have money down on a car that doesn't even exist. So and real quick, just one quick counter. We just purchased a Kia Sportage, and everybody's going to talk about how crazy the supply is and selling for more price, above MSRP. But I was happy to find that with this vehicle in particular, no markup. The dealer never even mentioned it. So point being that it is possible to get cars, at least at MSRP. Maybe not negotiate it down, but I didn't pay over for that one. So that was nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can remember buying cars and I didn't even have to say anything and it was under MSRP. That was just their competitive price. And it was like, oh, all right. So there was never arguing about, you tried to get a deal, but there was never arguing to get under MSRP. I mean, this is madness. I mean, the only time I think I paid over MSRP was actually when we bought our Toyota Supra. Because when it came out, there was only a few of them around, and we had to have it. And some of the dealers were like trying to get like $50,000-$60,000 over because they were going to be limited edition and all this nonsense, right? I ended up getting one for only a few over. We got lucky there, but that was not a supply. That's a totally different scenario. That's not what we're dealing with today, right? More recently, I ordered a Subaru BRZ. There were none of them out there, and the few that were out there were spoken for, like Alex mentioned. Gabe actually he sent me a list of a bunch of that he saw like in inventory, and I called a bunch of them, and they all laughed at me. Like, and I'm just like, it just is frustrating. But so I ordered one, and I have the actual purchase order, and it looks like I'm going to pay MSRP. I don't see where they can screw me, but or us.
Well, listen,
I don't know. Yeah, well,
the day isn't over.
I know. So I'm intrigued to see if it'll actually come when it does show up. I ordered this probably 3 months ago now. When it comes, if it will be what they'll try to pull, if they'll try to pull anything, I don't know. It's madness. I have to buy a Range Rover, the big P400. It's 110,000 or whatever it'll be. Well, that's what it's supposed to be. I haven't. They're not really in circulation yet, so I haven't gotten my hands on one. But I'm terrified to find out because I've been lucky up until this point for the most part. I don't know.
I think
maybe there'll be a story there too. I don't know.
I'm sure.
I think that's the theme that we're going to be revisiting throughout this podcast. Is you have to get a little lucky. I loved your guys' stories, and I have a few of my own. I'm trying to buy a Lexus LX right now. As you mentioned, Ryan, you're buying these high-end SUVs. You're like, I'm terrified of what's going to happen. Well, if my experience is any indication, you have good reason to feel terrified because for the Lexus, I mean, I've got all these notes and stuff like that of the dealers that I've got. I've called every dealer within like 100 miles of my house. And what I'm hearing so far is $45,000 over sticker. Our first one sold for $169,000. This is like about $100,000 SUV. We have about 35 deposits at the moment. Yet no one has any of the vehicles. People are just waiting in line. Another dealer said $20,000 over MSRP. We received our first LX in our allocation about a month ago and sold it within 3 hours before it even entered our computer system. 40,000 over MSRP. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Mm-hmm. It is insane. Listen, and this is a limited production car, but it seemed like the people on the high end, the people with a lot of money, are even beating down the doors of the dealers more so than just about anyone else. A couple other quick stories to tell. The BMW 230i that I bought for the program actually just paid sticker. So there's one of those. And then finally, the Kia Sorento hybrid that I bought recently was 10% over sticker. So there's such a wide range here. I'm actually not very hopeful that we're going to see a Lexus LX anytime soon, which is like a little, knock, knock, knock on Toyota's door. You should make a Land Cruiser because they're not doing it, anyway.
Oh, that's sad. I'm curious. You guys, when you are shopping, are you seeing these marked up prices online? Because in my experience, they're not advertising their actual price online. You'll just see the MSRP. You think, great, you call, and then all of a sudden plus whatever.
Sometimes if I'm searching for a car and I'm on, say, cars.com or Auto Trader, they'll say call for price.
Yeah. That's like going to the seafood restaurant and the lobster says market price. Like you're in trouble when it says that.
Oh gosh, so we are still working away at trying to buy test cars. We need to feed the test program, and so we're gonna keep chipping away at buying cars. But we've also been talking to a number of our other colleagues who also buy a lot of cars for our test program to share some of their stories and hear what they have to say with their car buying experiences. First up is Jensen.
When we were picking up the Nissan Rogue for our test program, the dealership for some reason decided not to give us a dealer markup, but instead they charged us $1,500 in dealer add-ons that was non-negotiable. This included a flashing third brake light and a fabric protection that basically just warranties the fabric and the cloth seats in case there was any type of spill or anything. They'll just replace the seat fabric for you. And we were able to come to the conclusion that at least they're giving us something for the dealer markup. At this point, we're kind of used to dealerships charging way over sticker for no reason whatsoever. So we agreed to the $1,500 and ended up having these strange, but I guess useful options when we were picking up the Lexus NX350 hybrid. When looking over the purchase order, they actually are charging $399 for what they call nitro fill. They said that part of their check-in process is to deflate all 4 tires to get rid of the air and fill it up with nitrogen.
So Jensen's experience was kind of interesting, and I was with him when he actually bought the Nissan Rogue. I mean, these options, they're not really options. And Ryan, the nitro-filled tires, I mean, that's a total ripoff, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not a total ripoff. I mean, the nitrogen thing does work, but it's not, in our findings, it's not worth paying for it. Okay, you still have to check the tire pressure on your tires, no matter what. Nitrogen just presents another issue because you have to make sure you put nitrogen in it. It's the whole thing. It's almost interesting because now they're getting creative. They're finding ways to charge you without feeling guilty, maybe, right? Like the seat thing. Like we've seen this stuff in the past, but it was always easy to just brush it off. Be like, no, I'm not paying for vintage. I'm not paying for, I don't want that. The nitrogen thing, yeah, it's a real thing, and it's not complete gimmick, but we've in our own testing have said it's not worth paying for. It's regular air is fine. You got to still check your tires every month. So
this makes me think if destination charges are a way for the actual manufacturer to hide a little bit of extra cost in the car, these crazy little markups that Jensen found are the way for the dealer to do the same thing, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. And just hide that little bit of extra price into it that's not disclosed up front.
And it's frustrating because I remember sitting with Jensen at the Nissan dealer, and I said, if we weren't desperate for this car, I would say we're not paying this or we're walking away. But I was very explicitly told, no, we got to buy this, so we just got to suck it up and whatever. Mm-hmm. That was tough. Okay, next up, we have an buying experience from Gordon.
In total, it was about a month process. So for this car in particular, they said they wouldn't accept anything over $5,000 over sticker value. I didn't want to pay over it. I tried to get them down to sticker. That didn't work. Then I tried to get it, $2,000 over sticker. And the way they presented it was that the cars are selling so fast. There's a high demand that they really can't accept anything over $5,000 over sticker value. The dealer kind of made it sound like I was getting a screaming deal for paying only $5,000 over the sticker value. And I was lucky even to get this car. That's kind of how they made it sound. I thought of it a little different. They really kept pushing that there's low inventory. The funny thing is, when I went to the dealership, there were several of the same model on the lot. So a little contradicting information coming in.
So Alex, EV6, 5,000 over sticker. How do you assess that?
Well, listening to Gordon's experience there and then having just purchased the 2023 Sportage, also a Kia model, it's very clear that it is both dealer and model dependent, right? Because that Sportage, there was never any discussion about a markup. So something that's new and exciting, like the EV6 coming in, this new electric car, they can, it's more easy to believe that there's a higher demand and, that's more scarce, if you will, compared to still nice, but just a more common car like the Sportage. So yeah, it really, you got to shop around and you got to consider what you're trying to buy if you want to avoid some of these markups, I think.
I feel bad because I think this is maybe the first car Gordon's bought.
Oh no,
that's a tough one. This is his first experience. Like, this poor kid. I mean, it's gonna get better. I promise, Gordon.
Okay, we got one more. This one is from Steve.
The Mercedes EQS 580. I went out and looked for one. The MSRP of the one we're looking for is about $120,000, and the cheapest version, or the cheapest markup I found, was $30,000 over. So they wanted $150,000 for it, and that was the cheapest dealer that I found. And we looked everywhere, all over the Northeast. It was matter of fact, there's chip shortages. This is what the price is, take it or leave it. And they wanted financing either. They wouldn't accept a cash offer on it. $30,000 over isn't the shocking part. That's the best deal I could find. There are other dealers that wanted $80,000 over, meaning that's a $200,000 price for a $120,000 MSRP car. I think there's a lot of people in the wrong. At first, yeah, the dealers, obviously, because they're marking up and they're taking advantage of it. But at the same time, why wouldn't they? The bigger problem is really supply and demand. Until there are buyers that go out there and pay $200,000 for $120,000 cars, this won't stop. So it's really the buyers that are continuing this trend because they want the newest, the greatest, the best, instead of saying, you know what? I'm not paying $200,000 for $120,000 cars. I'll buy something else.
So Ryan, Mercedes EQS, $200,000. Take it or leave it. And what was the one thing that you told me that really stood out with Steve's story?
This is absolute madness. Okay, Steve hit the nail on the head perfectly. Part of the reason where these prices are the way they are and these dealers are holding is because people are paying these freaking prices. I think we should boycott. I think we should go on strike and stop buying cars.
Yeah.
Start riding our bicycle if you really need, you're really stuck. This is insane.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine. I mean, I'm happy for these people if they can afford it, but my God, for the rest of us, it's insane.
Right, but financing only?
And then financing
That's
only.
crazy.
Yeah, sorry,
That's crazy.
I'm so hung up on the other thing. Financing, they're punishing people who had maybe the cash to pay up, right? Who's trying to do the right thing and save themselves some money, and now you're being forced into financing, which we know financing is there's extra cost associated with that because you pay a percentage for borrowing the money, essentially, right? Crazy. I don't know.
Well, nobody needs a $120,000 Mercedes EQS. I feel bad when somebody that needs to buy a new car,
A regular
for their family
car,
is forced into paying more. But when somebody goes in and just throws extra 50 grand at the new flashy EQS, that's just unfortunate.
Yeah,
on many levels.
I think Steve's line is really the best advice, and he said, "I'll buy something else." Hang on to your seats because we have even more. We actually reached out to you, our loyal podcast audience, and you guys were great. You sent us text messages, video messages to talkingcars@icloud.com. That is one of the, that's the greatest way of communicating with us. And so we've compiled a whole bunch of them. And so let's kick this off with a video from David.
Hey, Talking Cars, I love your show. Here's my 2022 Ford Maverick. Best little pickup truck in the world. Fuel efficient and fun. It's raining right now, so let me show you the car buying craziness in the cab here. I ordered it 8 months ago. Supply chain delays, etc., etc. It finally came, and they charged me about $1,000 more than the original manufacturer suggested retail price, which I signed for back in July of 2021. So crazy, cool truck, but I wish that hadn't happened.
So Alex, trying to buy a Maverick, $1,000 over sticker, had to wait a long time. About par for the course, would you say?
Yeah, it's unfortunate though with the Maverick because one of the best parts about the Maverick is supposed to be its low price. So getting charged extra kind of takes away from that a little bit.
It takes away the fun right out of it. Right?
Yeah, kind of. So that's too bad. I mean, $1,000. I hate to say it, but that's clearly not the worst we've seen. So there's that. But glad you got your truck anyway. It's a nice one.
So next up is Eugene from Atlanta, who writes, "I wanted a new car as my current 2016 Hyundai Sonata and 2015 Mazda 6 don't have blind side and rear traffic alert. But seeing new prices at $4,000 plus over MSRP, I won't buy anything right now. However, I sold a well-maintained third vehicle in this crazy market, a 2013 Honda Civic with about 83,000 miles on it. Dealers offer me anywhere from $7,000 to $8,200. CarMax offered me $9,900 and Carvana $11,000. Sold! Everything was done online. An agent came to inspect the car, take the title, and handed me a check. Less than 90 minutes later, a tow car came to pick it up. My goodness, I sound like an advertisement for Carvana. But boy, yeah. So taking something that's horrible and turn it into honey.
Yeah, he's fortunate here because I mean he must have another vehicle, right? But he was able to capitalize on the crazy market. I mean, he got good money for a car that he, I guess, maybe didn't need. That's sweet.
Yeah, good.
Good on him for not paying that 4K over and just like we were saying before, turning it down. So
right.
Smart. Yeah.
Right. Okay, next we have one from Davidson from South Carolina. Nice photo, Davidson. Good job. Davidson writes, "I bought a new Kia K5 this week, and it was an interesting experience. We took a test drive and told the salesperson we would think about it. We drove home only to decide that we wanted to do the deal. So I called the salesman an hour and a half later. He came back and said, 'So someone just got up from trying to buy the car you wanted but changed their mind. So if you want it, I'd get back here as soon as possible.' The K5 was one of a few that didn't have a markup. They had 3 EV6s on the lot, and each had a $10,000 markup. Salesman said they were struggling to sell them. They also gave us only $1,000 less for our 2021 Sorento trade-in than the purchase price a year ago. The sales manager already had someone interested in my Sorento 30 minutes after accepting the deal. We had to clean it out before we left. Wasn't expecting that. The final price for the car before the trade-in was about $2,500 over MSRP because of dealer add-ons. I asked multiple times what these were, and were told that they would be tinting the windows, putting on protectant, a few other things that the quote, the dealer does in back to every car, unquote, while doing an inspection and cleaning it. But no matter how many times I asked, I could never get an itemized list of specifics. I mean,
That's shady.
Yep.
It's very similar to what Jensen experienced. With those extra things. Also, that the whole thing with Kia and it being a little spotty on which models are getting marked up versus others sounds similar to our EV6 versus Sportage situation, right?
Right.
Maybe going for some of those less popular cars, K5 versus Sorento, if you're willing to go that route, save yourself a little bit.
And we've got one more story from one of our viewers. This is Darnley from Yonkers, New York, who sent us a video.
Hello, Talking Cars. It's a crazy time to buy a new car, but some of us have to do it. At least I have a 2019 Mazda CX-9. It's up in August, but I said, let me hit the ground running early because I've heard some crazy stories and the prices are kind of crazy out there. So my dealership also sells Subarus. I checked out the Outback, which I ended up really liking. I test drove the turbo and the non-turbo. The way the numbers were working out, it seemed that the turbo was not going to be an option. I didn't want to pay more for my lease. I got plans in the future, and I wanted to pay the same or less. So, no incentives for Subaru, which they never seem to have to because they sell themselves. Mazda had some incentives, including loyalty, cashback and things like that. It worked out where I just ended up staying with the Mazda CX-9, which is still a great choice. I love that car and the way it drives. It put the smile on my face. So, went down 2 tiers from the Grand Touring to the new Touring Sport. And I really, like how the numbers worked out in my favor. So, there you go. And my dealership does not pay over sticker. They don't charge over sticker, I should say. So that's something also important that you need to know. Okay, if you can get one that they don't do those and play those games. Hey, thanks guys. That's my story. My car is waiting to be delivered because I had to order it. So that's not the worst thing in the world. All right. Keep up the good work, guys. Keep talking cars.
So, Alex, Outback, no incentives. Mazda offered some deals, didn't charge over sticker. His advice, keep looking. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the importance of shopping around at different dealers. You're not married to the dealer you used to go to or that you've been to before. If they're not treating you right or they don't have the best deals, just move on. And I thought it was a really interesting detail that he brought up about a kind of a savvy way, if you're willing to do it, to save a little money, is he dropped down in trim level, right? When he moved up to this newer model, he kind of took a little bit of a hit and in terms of maybe some luxury features or whatever, going down to a lower trim level. I thought that was pretty smart. Hopefully you're only sacrificing luxury features in that situation. You're not giving up any safety features that sometimes are charged extra or only come on a higher trim levels or something like that. But yeah, I just thought that was a really cool and good piece of advice from him.
So it's sort of like the Wild West out there. People really have to fend for themselves, and being Consumer Reports, and we try to give out advice. We got a whole long list of advice, but we're going to try to sum it, boil it down a little bit. So Ryan, we're gonna start with you. Your number one bit of advice for car buying right now.
Yeah, I guess first and foremost, if you don't have to buy a car right now, don't. Avoid it if you can. I understand some people can't, but something to consider, and I think it's important regardless of the times. Maintaining your car is important. Make it last. It might be a good idea to spend a little more money on your next maintenance bill, have them touch up some things. It's cheaper than a new inflated car payment or some of these overpriced cars that have to replace it. So avoid it if you can. And some people aren't going to be able to do that. Just stay up with your maintenance.
And I think another topic about car buying is you can't usually talk about car buying without maybe bringing up leasing. And Alex, you kind of looked into this. I mean, is leasing any better in this kind of environment?
Not really. I mean, I don't want to say that there aren't deals out there like there are just on purchasing. I'm sure that you can find them. You may see some lease deals advertised to you that on the surface seem very attractive, but the limits or the terms of that lease may actually not be all that desirable. So we've seen even some where the mileage limit per year is less than 10,000 miles a year, which maybe that works for some people. And that would be great if you can use that as a way to get into a car for relatively cheap. But I know for most people, that's far below what they actually end up driving. So once you start going over that limit, there's costs associated with that, and that can quickly become less of a deal and less advantageous for you. You'll often see lease deals advertised, nationally advertised lease deals from basically the manufacturers themselves, but dealers are not obligated to honor those deals. So that's why you'll see in the fine print, or they'll say it really quick in the commercial, at participating dealers only. At the end of the day, I think the only real winners when it comes to leasing is possibly people that got into a lease before prices started going crazy, and their buyout price that's set, at once the lease is put into motion. So at the start, their buyout price might be lower than what current prices are or asking prices are, right? So if those people who are kind of coming out of those leases now are able to buy those vehicles for a relatively good price, they're the ones that might end up with a relatively, again, great deal at the end of the day. So yeah, beyond that, just be careful with the terms of leases and stay vigilant.
Right. And if you have a choice between being good or lucky, always choose lucky. So, I mean, but I think you guys both bring up, a good point. There's a lot of really good cars out there. You go to consumerreports.org, you look at the ratings charts. There's a lot. I mean, there's almost hardly any bad cars out there. And the ratings really help you kind of boil down which ones are the best. Check out the story, Best New Car Deals on consumerreports.org. And you'll find pickups, sedans, SUVs. These are all Consumer Reports rated. We're not just saying, well, these are really junky cars, but they're available, so get those. Now, these kind of meet our criteria to be good recommended cars. I guess we could just keep going on and on with more and more tips. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you guys think our audience should know?
Get ready to travel. You might not be able to get it at a local dealer, but if you've got to go to the next state or 2 states over, or God forbid, 3 states over, you're gonna you might have to travel, and that kind of goes into, like you said, just be flexible.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Now, Alex, there's actually one other option that we haven't covered, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the option of ordering a car, as opposed to, I think everybody is kind of used to maybe just going to the dealer and picking something that's on the lot because there was a lot to choose from. Ordering a car, if you're willing to wait and you need to have it a certain way with certain features, certain specifications, putting that order in directly with the manufacturer, and yes, it may take a significant amount of time, months, maybe a year even, in certain cases, depending on the car, to get it. But if you're willing to go down that route, and I've even been seeing certain manufacturers advertising this on TV, even just encouraging people to order rather than go to the dealer directly and see what they have. So that's another option as well.
I was charged to buy the Cadillac Escalade, and 3 or 4 dealers in a row said it'll probably be faster for you to just order one from the factory instead of waiting for stock to come in, because
Right.
there's a long line for stuff that's just being dropped off the truck. But yeah, no. So we do have to mention that sometimes ordering it, like you said, if you can be patient, you don't need it tomorrow, then that might be the best way to go. And it will allow Ryan to order his BMW with a manual transmission.
Exactly.
Anyway, that'll about do it for this episode. As always, check the show notes for more information on the vehicles and the topics that we discussed. And just keep in mind, we love hearing from you. Questions, text questions, video questions, TalkingCars@iCloud.com. That's TalkingCars@iCloud.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.